Just when you thought it was safe to submit an idea to your employer, hold on. Before you do, read The Anatomy of a Corporate Lynching, Updated Edition, and avoid the Great White Sharks. Available on Amazon worldwide. And hear the audiobook featuring a cast of actors delivering the facts exclusively at fourthfordbooks.com.
So we're looking at constantly more and more into the shooting in the Buffalo, New York, where you had 10 black people, precious black people, that lost their lives at the hand of a evil, maniacal white supremacist by the name of Payton Gendron, an 18-year-old. And he had this in his manifesto, the Great Replacement Theory, or the white replacement theory, in his manifesto. We are taking our time to go through that manifesto, especially on the podcast, but we also reference it here as well. Now, he talked about in the manifesto constantly about birth rates and immigrants and calling people that immigrate into this country invaders. But he also said all non-white people are invaders too, because I don't want black people to get caught up on this. Well, I'm not an immigrant. They had nothing to do with me. Yes, it do, because he said you an invader too. He said you are an invader, black folk who's an American. You're an invader, he says, on white lands too. This is why he went out and targeted you. Well, this white replacement theory that's out here is spewed on Fox News by Tucker Carlson, to be exact. He spewed this all the time. Now, if you never heard him do this before, you need to really hear it. Let's play that clip.
I'm laughing because this is one of about 10 stories that I know you've covered where the government shows preference to people who have shown absolute contempt for our customs, our laws, our system itself, and they're being treated better than American citizens. Now, I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true. If this was happening in your house, if you were in 6th grade, for example, and without telling you, your parents adopted a bunch of new siblings and gave them brand new bikes and let them stay up later and help them with their homework and gave them twice the allowance that they gave you, you would say to your siblings, I think we're being replaced by kids that our parents love more. And it would be kind of hard to argue against you because look at the evidence. So this matters on a bunch of different levels, but on the most basic level, it's a voting rights question. In a democracy, one person equals one vote. If you change the population, you dilute the political power of the people who live there. So every time they import a new voter, I become disenfranchised as a current voter. So I don't understand why we don't understand this. I mean, everyone wants to make a racial issue out of it. Ooh, the white replacement theory. No. This is a voting rights question. I have less political power because they're importing a brand new electorate. Why should I sit back and take that? The power that I have as an American guaranteed at birth is one man, one vote, and they're diluting it. No, they're not allowed to do that. Why are we putting up with this?
I would say that Tucker Carlson and Fox News are responsible for radicalizing Payton Gendron, because this is something they're spewing every night on Fox News channel. Benjamin Crump, brother, if you're out there, I'm pretty sure you probably talked to the families already, because I know you move pretty fast. Like I said, I have nothing against you whatsoever, because if there was no white supremacists, how could you sue for anything? I believe that Benjamin Crump or any other lawyer out there who's similar to Benjamin Crump need to go and sue Fox News and Tucker Carlson for this, because they put this mess out here on a worldwide platform. If rappers are being caught up on RICO cases, if Young Thug and Gunna and everybody else can go down for what they say in the lyrics, well, how come Tucker Carlson can't go down and get charges too for what he's saying in this video here? Talking about some great replacement, white replacement theory. And then it radicalizes white supremacists, and then they go out and mow down black people at a grocery store. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, come on now. Y'all need to start pushing that as black people. Another thing I'm going to keep saying, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Black people need to push for the same hate crime protection that the AAPI community got. Black people need the millions of dollars to go to black organizations, not Black Lives Matter, because that's not a black organization, but real black organizations who's out here standing up and fighting against anti-black racism, just like they gave the AAPI community. California gave the AAPI community $150 million to combat Asian hate. So we need $300 million to combat anti-black racism, because in every state in America, including New York, black people lead as victims in hate crimes. But yet the AAPI community get all the laws and get everything else. No, black people need to start speaking up about that. Get on your politicians and don't come here with this defeatist mentality. You expecting the federal government to protect black people? They not going to do that. You the problem. You are the problem, because you've been the same one on the plantation. You trying to get off the plantation? They not going to ever let us off the plantation. Thank God the majority of our ancestors didn't think like your silly behind. You're silly and you're just silly. God, you're silly. But you pay taxes in the United States of America, black people, so you can demand that the government that your tax dollars go to protect you. You have to demand it. You have to push it. Just like you pushing reparations. Reparations are something you got to push. They're not going to give you reparations. Hell no. On their own, no. They didn't want to give you civil rights, but you made them do it. So this the thing. You're not going to vote your way into reparations. You're not going to vote your way into protection. You're not going to vote your way into freedom. We always had to make them do it. Period. We have never acquired anything from a ballot for black people. You have to keep putting it out there, keeping the pressure on. These white supremacists. That white supremacist in New York, he had on the gun, here's your reparations. That message of reparations is cutting the white supremacist soul, because it's the truth and it's a debt that they owe with their lazy behind. Because they're lazy. Because you wouldn't owe reparations if you wasn't so freaking lazy and when the guy there picked your own cotton. You wouldn't have to worry about reparations. But even to this day, you're lazy. You're dependent on Hispanic people to come over and pick your strawberries and pick your grapes and pick your oranges, because you're lazy. Get yourself out there and do it yourself. And you won't have to worry about immigrants coming in anymore. But you're not going to do that because you can't work. You're too precious to work out in the sun. But people like Tucker Carlson, the stuff he spews is no different than what was in this white supremacist manifesto. So black people need to start suing Fox News, Tucker Carlson, anybody else that spew that mess, because that's making threats on black people's lives. It's making a direct threat. Black people need to do no different than what they do. They always file a lawsuit about things. File it. Go ahead. Keep filing it. Put the foot on the pavement. Get your lawyers. Get everything together, and we need to start doing that. We need to stop being on the defensive all the time and go on the offensive, because let me tell you something. Other groups don't sit up here and let other people make threats against them. See, one thing about the Jewish community, what I like that they do, they don't let nobody come up here and say things about them. They get on the offensive quick, just like that. The ADL is on your butt if you say anything related to threatening Jewish people. Black folks need to be like that times 1,000. Why aren't we on Tucker Carlson's head when he's saying this stuff? I told y'all need to watch all media, all of it. Not just the ones you like, watch them all, because threats are being made against black people. And Tucker Carlson's program is a threat against black people. It is. Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, he owns it. He's a threat against black people. And black people got to call this mess out, because we don't call it out on a consistent basis. It's white supremacy, of course. And Biden and them with the Federal Communications Commission could actually shut that down if they want to, but they don't want to shut anything down. So Biden is just a response for all this. Well, we got to come together as communities. We need to pray. When it happened to Asians, you were talking about executive orders and you was talking about a hate crime bill. We need to hear the same thing, executive orders and hate crime bill. Biden. This is why black folks don't want to vote for your behind, because when something happened to us, it's all this thoughts and prayer BS. But when it comes to other groups of people, it's actions. Black people got to stop putting up with that mess. And also black people, stop letting people try to come in and piggyback off of what happened. Well, he was white supremacist and anti-Semitic. Did he go attack a Jewish synagogue or something? Sure, I read it. I know what he said, but we talking about his actions. Well, he was anti-immigrant. Did he go attack immigrants or did he attack black people? Keep it on black people. Keep it on white supremacy. And I'm depending on you, who's watching, black people, to keep it there. Don't let your liberal friends, because they act like they're your friends, don't let them try to pivot away. Don't even get into that liberal conservative argument. Oh, it's the right wingers. No, it's white supremacy. White supremacy is on both sides. There's no such thing as one group is not white supremacists and the other ones are. No. Because them same so-called not white supremacist left-wing platforms are cherry picking his manifesto and covering the shooter. The Associated Press, like, he's a white teenager, but they call Michael Brown a black man. No, he's a white supremacist man. Period. Well, let me know what y'all think in the comment section here, about Tucker Carlson and Fox News. It's a threat to black people. It's a threat. And black people got to constantly call this out. This white supremacist in Buffalo that killed black people quoted this man word for word in his manifesto. And we definitely got to start suing and getting serious about this.